When reading the otherwise rosy stories in the mainstream media, the most glaringly simplistic and attention grabbing subsegments of which continue to proclaim the recession over, while conveniently ignoring that despite 4 trillion in monetary and fiscal stimuli, underemployment is at 17%, food stamp recipients are at an all-time high at about 40% of the people. Discretionary purchases are continuing to be funded primarily from millions of delinquent homeowners who refuse to pay their mortgage, now on the average between 18 and 24 months behind. Companies are refusing to hire. CapEx spending is at all-time lows. Banks are hoarding cash for the imminent perfect MBS, mortgage-backed securities putback storm. Commodity price inflation is threatening to collapse profit and net income margins. Half of Europe is locked out from capital markets. Rampant Chinese inflation is threatening to recreate Tiananmen Square. Investors are pulling cash from markets for 29 weeks in a row. Hardship withdrawals from 401ks are surging, and the municipal bond mess is one political decision from an avalanche of city and state defaults. One may be excused to have a comparable simplistic perspective of the economy. After all, stocks are up, which of course is precisely the response that Bernanke is hoping to elicit from these same simplistic interpreters of economic and market data, who are next supposed to take money procured from selling newsletters and other top and bottom line declining products and buy Chinese trinkets they don't need. It is the same people who also conveniently ignore the sad reality that America's small businesses find themselves increasingly in. And for the most vivid example of this is the latest Reuters report, which informs that small businesses are now calling off Christmas en masse. The 2010 holiday season represents the worst slump since the firm began polling 22 years ago. Of 103 leading businesses, those holding a celebration of any kind fell to 79%, down from 81% both last year and the year before during the height of the economic recession. It's worse now. Obviously, Wall Street is not among those polled. The country's banksters are, of course, prepared to take in 144 billion in bonuses this year. Alas, it is small business that create economic prosperity in America. Bankers only take it away, which is why the small business segment feels might have been relevant, if anyone still cared, for America as a going concern. That's no longer the case. It is now obvious that the country will persist in its current form only for so long as it can continue to roll its 13.8 trillion in debt, an amount which will never be repaid. That America's economic engine has to take such sacrifices merely to perpetuate the Wall Street, Fed, DC, kleptocratic status quo is sad. But at this point, nothing can be done about it. Until these very people decide to either stop paying their tax outright, pull all their money from the too big to fail banks, stop trading in corrupt capital markets entirely, very little, if anything, will change. After all, the ruling class is now focused on one thing, and one thing only: kick the can far enough that those in charge now will not see a posse in front of their front door before the arrangement for one-way G5 flights to Brazil can be made. Everything else is smoke and mirrors. Thanks, and happy Thanksgiving.